was pretty cool to hear that song on Monday Night Raw for the first time in a long time, and I think it's really cool that the WWE gave me a reason to use that song as my opening for episode 199, considering whose song I'm going to be using to open episode 200. I wish I had a little bit more to get into tonight. Unfortunately, I think this is going to be another quickie. Why? Because shit's been sucking lately. This tends to happen, after WrestleMania a lot of times. These May and June pay-per-views to me are never really interesting. It's just, the little lull that the WWE goes into and, interest is just a little bit down. And tonight's Raw was from the UK, and I usually don't like these shows, nothing against the UK. They are great fans over there, and there's a lot of huge WWE and pro wrestling supporters in general, in the United Kingdom, and they more than deserve to have these wrestling companies come over there and hold shows for them sometimes. But you never really see any major angles develop on these shows because primarily they're a taped show and they're taped several hours earlier, and if anything major happened, the spoilers would come out, you would hear about it, Facebook, Twitter, whatever, word would get out, and it just wouldn't make the show as enjoyable. So I usually try to resist reading the spoilers for these UK Raws and try to enjoy the show as best as possible, but tonight, it was just really lacking. We didn't learn anything in the Daniel Bryan title situation. Stephanie McMahon came out to Daniel Bryan's music and trolled the fans a little bit, and she did say that she's ordering Daniel Bryan to appear next week live on Monday Night Raw to surrender the WWE title, and from what I understand, I guess she says that she's just going to give it to Kane. Oh, I'm sorry, the Demon Kane. It's funny how one week this guy looks like he manages a fucking Staples and the next week he's a demon. But I think this must have just been a stalling tactic by the WWE to give Daniel Bryan one full week after surgery so maybe the doctors can get a better prognosis on his recovery, how long he's going to be out. But I got to tell you, from what I've been reading, this injury could keep him out as long as 3 months. Now, if that turns out to be accurate, I'm sorry, no matter how much you like Daniel Bryan, you cannot justify keeping the title on a guy for 3 months, especially the world title, if he's not going to be there defending it. The WWE has no choice but to take the title off of Daniel Bryan. I think they could give it back to him. I know last week I compared him to Dolph Ziggler, but that's an unfair comparison. I think the WWE, if they're going to have to take the title off of Daniel Bryan because of injury, they're going to try to work him back into the title picture as soon as he comes back. Because you have to think about how significant WrestleMania 30 was. That was a huge show, one of the most successful shows in the history of their company, and it was a milestone show. The fucking DVD hasn't even come out yet. This is going to be a show that's going to be looked back on for years to come. They're not going to want to have that big moment, that closes out WrestleMania 30 going to Daniel Bryan just for the whole thing to end 7 weeks later. And let's all hope that Daniel Bryan does recover fully, because we don't want his career to be shortened. We want him to be able to come back from this, and I hope that, number one, above all else, fuck the titles. I just hope Daniel Bryan's health and his career, remains intact. It's Daniel Bryan, the person, that I'm worried about here. He had neck surgery. I think it's a little bit selfish to start worrying about the titles when a guy's career could be on the line here. This is not a minor deal. Anything involving the neck, like I've said, I think is a huge deal. And considering the type of style that Daniel Bryan wrestles, he almost has to come back 100% from this thing, otherwise he won't be the same. I've had a few people ask me if I think the WWE should do an interim champion and label it as such. No way, you can't do that, because then what is an interim champion? All that says is I'm the champion, but I'm really not the champion. Then what the hell are you defending every week on Raw? This is a way that storyline-wise they could have an interim champion and just have Kane carry the titles around until Daniel Bryan comes back and beats him in a match and reclaims them. You're going to have to keep Evolution busy with the Shield. You're going to have to keep John Cena and Bray Wyatt busy in order to do that. Otherwise, you've got some serious contenders out there. But for Daniel Bryan's title reign's sake, if he's just going to be out for a little bit, fuck it. Just take the belts off of him, hand him over to Kane, let Kane walk around Raw for 6 to 7 weeks with those titles, and when Daniel Bryan comes back, he can win the titles back and just resume his run. I don't know if the WWE is going to do that. I don't even know if that's the best way to book it. I don't know how they're going to handle, the title situation if Daniel Bryan does have to let it go. But I do think they're going to have to put him back in it just because of the significance of WrestleMania 30 alone. You're not going to give Daniel Bryan that huge moment and then 7 weeks later take the titles off of him and never talk about Daniel Bryan again. I cannot believe how many negative Nancys there are out there. I've seen John Cena's name being mentioned more times in the Daniel Bryan title situation from these fans, and he has nothing to fucking do with it. What the hell is all this worry about John Cena all of a sudden? Daniel Bryan's injury has thrown fans into a panic that, oh my God, what if John Cena wins the WWE title? Don't get ahead of yourself and don't give yourself a fucking heart attack at the mere mention that possibly John Cena could be back in the world title picture. Just fucking relax. I mean, fuck me. It cracks me up how people say, good mic work defends John Cena and sucks his dick. I think you guys talk a lot more about John Cena than I do. Seems to me the haters are talking about John Cena in a storyline that he's not even involved in. So who's obsessed with who here? You know, and his segment tonight on Raw with the Wyatts was good. Bray Wyatt's awesome. The UK crowd shit all over John Cena tonight. Did you see that? And I love that the fans now sing John Cena sucks to the tune of his theme song. That reminds me of, the You Suck chants during Kurt Angle's song. John Cena had the main event match with Luke Harper, and he didn't beat him. He had him beat. The Wyatts interrupted the match and got a disqualification. John Cena didn't even get a clean victory. The Wyatts beat the shit out of him, dragged him up the ramp, and then Bray Wyatt gave him the Sister Abigail on the stage. And then he knelt over him, and he sang the song again with the entire crowd singing along with him. If you're tuning into Raw for the first time and listening to the crowd's reaction, you think Bray Wyatt's the babyface. I mean, the fans are firmly behind Bray Wyatt in the storyline. As a matter of fact, they're firmly behind a lot of heels in the WWE right now, including Cesaro. He had that match with Sheamus tonight, and the fans were shitting on Sheamus and just going nuts for Cesaro, and Cesaro beat Sheamus and made him look like a chump. I don't really know if I want Cesaro to feud for the United States title. You know, putting the United States title back on Cesaro, I don't think would be any better of an idea than Cesaro winning that Intercontinental title tournament a few weeks back. Neither one of them makes sense to me. The WWE needs to take advantage of this opportunity that they have a guy that the fans are in love with, you know, and they're aligning him with Paul Heyman. He needs to be a major player, not a U.S. title contender, not an IC title contender, but a major player. And I would like to see Cesaro in a world title pay-per-view match before the year is over. So, you know, I want the WWE to have big plans for him. And if he carries one of those two titles, you know, they just don't do anything with him. As we saw tonight on Raw, when the WWE just can't come up with any storyline, you know, for the Intercontinental title. So they decide to have a beat the clock challenge. The last two IC title challengers have come from some sort of fucking contest. What happened to the good old days of Macho Man climbing up to the top rope and smashing the ring bell right through Ricky the Dragon Steamboat's throat? Build that shit up for 6 months and have a big match for the title at WrestleMania. It doesn't work that way anymore. Shit goes so fucking fast. You have to have an Intercontinental title match, you know, like every fucking week. It's hot potato. Every single guy on the roster gets a turn at the Intercontinental title. I fucking lost track of how many times Wade Barrett has won it. The Miz, Big E, Cody Rhodes, Curtis Axel, you name it, they all get the title. It's ridiculous. It's just a shame what the IC title has become. And I hope at least Wade Barrett keeps it for a little while longer, and I think he will. Rob Van Dam won the Beat the Clock challenge on Raw, the right to challenge Wade Barrett for the title at Payback. I really hope Wade Barrett winds up winning. I'm pretty sure he will, and retain the Intercontinental title for a little while longer. I really do like Bad News Barrett. I think he's fucking hilarious. And completely off subject here, but you want to know one just plain random thing that I think the WWE could do that would help the Intercontinental title? Take the white leather strap off of it and replace it with the black. I don't know why. I think that's such a tiny minor detail, but to me, you know, them going old school and bringing back the old Intercontinental title was really cool, but I hated the fact that they have the white strap. Put the old school original black strap on it. I think that is such a beautiful looking title belt, and if they brought it back exactly the way it was originally, I don't know, maybe it could just help the prestige of it a little bit more. I think I'm grasping at straws there. It's pretty fucked up that the goddamn color of the leather strap on the belt would, help the title's significance or not, but I think that it would. Evolution and the Shield were at it again tonight. This time it was going to be a one-on-one match, Seth Rollins versus Batista, and Evolution decided to make themselves the guest timekeeper and the guest ring announcer, Triple H and Randy Orton respectively, because apparently the stipulation for this one-on-one match that nobody, unless they are a WWE official, can be at ringside for the match. And then to counter that, Seth Rollins gets on the mic and says, fine, I've got two special guest announcers for this match to join JBL, Cole, and Lawler, and it's going to be the other two members of Evolution. So you got Triple H and Randy Orton at ringside, and the other two members of Evolution at ringside as well, watching Seth Rollins take on Batista. And of course, Evolution retreats and the Shield stands tall as always. I fucking love the Shield. They are going to have an elimination match with Evolution at Payback. I was kind of hoping they would do 3 one-on-one matches. I think the card could use that, considering Daniel Bryan's not going to be on it, and they could use as many big-time matches as they can get, but they decided decided to make this an elimination match, which this could show the launching of someone in the Shield. I can see, you know, if they're going to launch Roman Reigns or do something with Dean Ambrose, you put those guys down, you know, 3 members to 1 or 2 members to 1 and have this guy come back and win. I think could be a good way to help, you know, elevate the character. You know, this could be a perfect opportunity to do that with Roman Reigns if they chose to. And if Batista is going to be taking time off, you know, Evolution could lose, causing some dissension. Batista could leave. All that could be involved in the storyline, although Evolution did job to the Shield last time. And even though Evolution are older, established stars that should be used to help get these guys over and elevate them, they're not going to lose on every fucking pay-per-view. And the way, you know, we have so many rematches these days and storylines are dragged out through multiple pay-per-views, you would think that Evolution should pick up a victory, at least one. I mean, the Wyatt family beat the Shield. Why shouldn't Evolution, you know, a stable with the resumes of those 3 guys, you know, their title victories alone should be more than enough, you know, to conquer the Shield at least in one match. So I guess it could go either way. You know me, I'm going to root for the Shield because the Shield is my favorite fucking wrestler. If they're going to strip Daniel Bryan of the WWE title, I say you give the title to the Shield. So I'm definitely hoping that the Shield defeats Evolution at the pay-per-view, but if they don't, I'm not going to be pissed off because I understand, you know, Triple H and Randy Orton and Batista, those guys are who they are. They are, at the end of the day, going to do what's best for business, but they are not jobbers. And so far this year, Daniel Bryan and the Shield have owned those 3 guys, and you got to think that they got to have their moment eventually. So we only have 3 matches really set for Payback right now. We have the Intercontinental title match. Rob Van Dam will be challenging Bad News Barrett. We're going to have the Shield versus Evolution in the elimination match like I just talked about, and I forgot to mention earlier that John Cena and Bray Wyatt are as well having a match at Payback, and it will be a last man standing match, which was another part of that segment that I really liked after the Wyatts had beat down John Cena. I think it was Luke Harper that was leaning over in the mic just counting to 10 while John Cena was laid out on the ramp. So those are the only 3 matches we have so far for Payback, and this is going to be in Chicago. I mean, this is going to be a tough crowd. The WWE brilliantly played the Chicago crowd last time they were there with the whole CM Punk situation, but this is a whole different story now. Daniel Bryan is on the shelf. They might not even have a world title match, and if they do, you know, I don't know what they're going to do. I guess we're going to find out a lot this week on Raw. I'll have a lot more to talk about next week once we find out if Daniel Bryan does in fact surrender the titles, what they're going to do with the titles, and what kind of a match they're going to have at Payback. I'm wondering if maybe Daniel Bryan gets somebody to wrestle on his behalf somehow on this show. You know, even though it's available for free on the WWE network, you still have to try to sell the show. And you cannot give these fans in Chicago a bunch of crap or they're going to take a big fucking crap right on it. And you got to think they have to do something. They have to have some sort of a match or something for the world title. Somebody either needs to wrestle on Daniel Bryan's behalf, or if he does in fact relinquish the titles to Kane, you know, somebody challenges Kane for it. But I don't even know who you would get. Who the fuck would be the challenger? I know who the ideal guy would be. The ideal guy sitting on his ass at home and he doesn't want to come back. But other than him, you know, who could you really put in this situation that the fans would even give a shit about? The only other possibility I see would be Cesaro. I mean, what if Cesaro came in, you know, and took the titles for a while Daniel Bryan was on the shelf? But Cesaro, you know, is mixed up in this nonsense with Sheamus that doesn't look like, you know, they have that idea. I'm sure with Paul Heyman as his manager, they could do a storyline where Paul Heyman pulls some strings and Cesaro has another surprise, you know, and winds up challenging Kane for the relinquished WWE title and wins it. I guess that would be my ideal choice, but I don't see the WWE doing that because they're just not cool like that. So it'll be interesting to see where they go. We're going to learn a lot Monday night on Raw, that's for sure. As far as what else happened on Raw, I'm not going to talk much else about it. We did see another segment with Adam Rose. I'm sorry, this is going to fail. I do not like this character. I am just as adamant as I was the first week he debuted. You know, nothing against the wrestler. I wish him well. You know, it's just there's something about this character that I can see not working. The crowd was into it this week, but that's because the UK crowd is crazy. They were singing his theme song. He seemed very, very over, but I promise you, when they get back to the States next week and they bring out Adam Rose, the crowd will be silent. I just do not think people give a shit. I just don't think it's a gimmick that's going to work. I think it's too much. It's too elaborate. It's too over the top. It's too fucking annoying, and I think it's going to be a Santino Marella level of character, and that's it. That's the best this guy can hope for. And it has nothing to do with him being feminine. You know, I don't care if he's like a gay type character. Gays don't bother me. Gays are my friends. So it's not really that. It's just something about it is just, you know, just puke-inducing. It just reminds me of, you know, Total Divas. It's just too colorful and pink and girly, and I just don't like it. It was nice to see Adam Rose actually throw a punch tonight. He tackled Jack Swagger and started, raining blows upon his head, so Adam Rose can get mad. But once he's done getting mad and punching somebody in the face, he sticks that fucking lollipop back in his mouth and he starts dancing around. So I don't know, I just really don't like it. I fully believe that this character is never going to be anything more than just a ridiculous comedy entertainment segment of the show. The best they can hope for is that the fans just sing his, catchy little theme song. I think really at the end of the day, that's what the WWE wants. They kind of saw the way the fans reacted, I think last year after WrestleMania, that New Jersey crowd, the way they were singing, Fandango's theme song later on in the year. You had the Yes chants getting so over and the Yes chants starting to pop up at sporting events and concerts and things like that. The WWE seems to me that they are very much into crowd involvement now. And I think this Adam Rose character is designed to get the crowd, singing along and participating in all of that, because it does make for a good atmosphere and it does make for good TV. But I think eventually Adam Rose will be looked upon by the fans the same way that Santino Marella's Cobra is looked upon by the fans right now. It's just not going to get over. It's not going to get over the way the WWE wants it to get over, and if it does, it'll be short-lived. And yes, I am a lemon. These are citrus-flavored commentaries, that is for sure. And it's kind of funny. I sound like a John Cena hater. I'm just so against Adam Rose for whatever reason. A lot of you are probably like, hey, I like Adam Rose. What the fuck is your problem? That's fine. I have no problem if you like him. I just personally don't like him, and I don't like the character, and I find him horribly annoying. There are some dead wrestlers that honestly have got to be spinning in their graves, looking at a character like Adam Rose. So time will tell who's right and who's wrong, but, I trust my instincts, and I just don't think this character, is ever going to be a big deal in wrestling. But that's enough about that. Really nothing else to talk about on Monday Night Raw. I'm actually going to get out of here, but not before I talk about just a couple of more things. Some people mentioned to me last week, hey, why didn't you not mention Damien Sandow's shoot interview on the Raw pre-show last week? I actually didn't see it until later on this week when I finally took a look at it, and, I don't see what the big deal was. That wasn't a pipe bomb. He barely said anything. I like what they're trying to do to make it seem spontaneous on the pre-show. He kind of just interrupts. They're trying to make it as real as possible, but if they really wanted to make it real, Damien Sandow should have shown up in street clothes. He was wearing his full-on Damien Sandow outfit. I think it would have been much better if he was still, like, in his daytime clothes and he came up and he was frustrated or something like that. Maybe even security jumped up on stage and was kind of like, hey, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? Get down. Come on. And maybe tried to restrain him a little bit. They could have done a few more things to make it seem a little bit more real. But at the end of the day, I don't care. I think it's cool that the WWE could be doing a storyline with frustrated talent. And this is kind of a slippery slope too. They're kind of exposing the business when they do storylines like this, because they're basically acknowledging that it's all a show, and basically these wrestlers are mad that they're not allowed to go out there and win any matches. So it's one of those things where the WWE is planting the seed for a storyline like this. I would like to see a stable. Some people have mentioned that to me, that they could be doing a stable of frustrated talent, which they could get Dolph Ziggler easily involved in that, maybe a couple other guys, maybe even a Miz or a Alberto Del Rio or anybody else that, was doing a lot at one time but isn't doing anything anymore. Damien Sandow has a hell of an argument. They made him look like an idiot in that segment with Hugh Jackman a few weeks ago. He had that great match with John Cena last year where he beat the absolute piss out of John Cena before the match even started, and he still lost to him after trying to cash in, the Money in the Bank. So he's got some great material for future pipe bombs, and I think Damien Sandow is good on the mic, but what he said initially, in that Raw pre-show, I didn't really think it was that big of a deal at all. And I think if he wanted to get a bigger reaction, like I said, he should have been dressed in his street clothes, and he should have name-dropped a McMahon. Throw a Stephanie or a Triple H or a Vince under the bus, or say something like that. That's what CM Punk did to get everybody's attention. He called Triple H a doofus and Stephanie McMahon an idiot. He knew what buttons to push. So Sandow needs to do something like that in the future if he really wants to catch the attention, of the internet fans, because that's all they care about, is when these guys put down somebody that's universally hated, like a John Cena, like a Triple H, like a Stephanie, like a Vince, people like that. So if Sandow really wants to shock some people, I want to hear some shit like that come out of his mouth. And finally, the WWE stock crisis that everybody's talking about. Oh my God, what is happening? The WWE is crumbling. They're going out of business. Just relax. That's not the case. There's probably some of you out there that are more educated in stocks than I am. I actually own some WWE stock, but my father, still to this day in his old age, he handles all of my investments for me. He's always been a stock guy. I can usually never make heads or tails out of anything that I'm reading. So I don't think I'm really qualified to try to explain what exactly is going on here, but I think the gist of it was was that the WWE, when they negotiated the new deal with NBC Universal to keep Monday Night Raw on USA Network and SmackDown on Sci-Fi and all of that, they were expecting a huge increase, a huge pay raise from the last time they negotiated a deal. And although the deal was a lot more than last time, I think even 2 or 3 times more, it was not even as big as the WWE was building up, which is why their stock rose to begin with. And when this big deal went down and the shareholders realized that it wasn't matching the numbers that they were projecting, the stock fell like a motherfucker. And the launch of the WWE Network also caused the stock to rise, but I think the launching of the WWE Network at the same time of them trying to negotiate a TV deal hurt them getting the big deal that they really wanted. And I did even read something along the lines that Vince McMahon admitted in the conference call that maybe they should have waited another year to launch the network. That way they could get the TV deal done first, and they might have fucked up. Vince McMahon reportedly lost 1/3 of his fortune. You know, this does not mean the WWE is going out of business. This is something that the WWE chose to do. It's basically they gotta, they made this bed, they gotta lie in it. The WWE will live on just fine. Their stock is going to be hurting, and I don't know, like I said, the details of the business end of anything, but I wouldn't read too much into this. It's just bullshit that goes along with a company when it becomes a publicly traded company, and it's a lot of why you see what you see on TV today is because the WWE is highly visible and they have shareholders to answer to, and it's all about money, which is why the WWE will continue to push John Cena, because the shareholders are not going to want them to destroy a huge money-making entity like John Cena. That's something that the haters and the fans cannot get through their head. They think John Cena is ruining the business and the WWE should job him out. Well, if you job him out, you lose millions of dollars, and that is not acceptable for a company like that. These haters are incapable of wrapping that shit around their empty fucking brainless heads, and that's what's so goddamn frustrating. And it does suck. I agree. I wish we could go back to the old days where, what the fans wanted determined who's pushed, because if that's the case, then John Cena would be jobbed out. But the way things are now and how fucked up this whole goddamn business is, it just makes the WWE's priorities completely different. And I think they might have made a mistake, a tactical error. I think it had to do with the combination of the WWE's network launch, doing that at the same time of negotiating a TV deal. And I think it hurt them. But I'm not too worried about it. This stock shit is something that we as fans really have no control over. I'm just going to let, the cards fall as they may and let the WWE handle this however, they see fit. All I care about is the product we get on television. And the product what we get on television is what we should all care about. And that's what we want to be good. But don't worry, Jeff Jarrett's Global Force Wrestling will not be taking over and Vince McMahon will not become the general manager. It's definitely not to that level, but I do think it's a bit alarming, that the WWE is going through this crisis, and it's, a little bit freaky that, this is actually happening. I thought the WWE was riding strong. They've had a great 2014. I thought WrestleMania 30 was hugely successful. The WWE Network, I think numbers-wise, subscribers-wise, they're relatively on par with what they wanted. I think they wanted 1 million subscribers in the first year, and I think they're up to almost 700,000. So they may get there, and they're going to get another push, next year when WrestleMania comes around, and they may have to increase the price. As a fan, I understand that. I wouldn't be surprised at all if after that first year it becomes $10.99 or even $11.99. I'd be willing to pay, $15 for it. But I think if they did do an increase, it wouldn't be a drastic increase like that. I think it would be $1. Because think about it. If you have 1 million subscribers and you just increase the price by $1, you just made $1 million. So I think we might see a lot of things take place, a lot of damage control go down, as it relates to the stock crisis in the WWE. But that's all just going to have to be handled behind the scenes. All we can do as fans is try to enjoy the product we see on TV. And that's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to pay too much attention to what's going on behind the scenes because honestly, I don't care. I'm never going to sell my WWE stock just because I like owning it. I don't own much, but I just like saying that I own a piece of the WWE. I don't care how much it drops. I'm never going to get rid of it because I just hang on to it for fucking sentimental value. I don't give a fucking shit what the stock does. So anyway, I hope the WWE gets out of this mess, and digs themselves out of the quicksand and, and does as much damage control as possible to ease all the shareholders' minds so the WWE can get back to business as usual. And it'll be interesting to see how the year plays out, and how the company, if they grow and what becomes of their stock, and the WWE Network and all of that. So I'm going to get out of here. You guys have a great night. Don't forget, episode 200 is coming up on May 23rd. It is 3 days away, so keep a lookout for that. I'll be posting links everywhere on Friday, and I will talk to you all very soon. Until then, peace.